Good morning and welcome back for another daily devotion. Our devotion for today comes from Isaiah chapter 14, and this is part of an oracle against Babylon, but we'll use it in a bunch of different ways. So, 14, starting at verse 3. On the day the Lord gives you relief from suffering and turmoil and cruel bondage, you will take up this taunt against the king of Babylon. How the oppressor has come to an end, how his fury has ended. The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers, which in anger struck down peoples with unceasing blows, and in fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. All the lands are at rest and at peace. They break into singing. Even the pine trees and the cedars of Lebanon exult over you and say, "Now that you have been laid low, no woodsman comes to cut us down." So, nice little chunk there. What do we do with this? Well, in the broader context of things, right, Isaiah is worried about Babylon. Assyria has already come and done some things. The people of Israel are waiting for Babylon, or the people of Judah, sorry, are waiting for Babylon, and I'll leave you guys to do all your historical research for the most part. But as you know, Babylon comes, Babylon sacks Jerusalem, carts off Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel off to Babylon, along with the king Jehoiachin, and leaves Zedekiah as the puppet ruler and kind of manager of the tribute they're all supposed to be paying. So that's not great. So all this is supposed to have happened, and then God says, on that day, on the day the Lord gives you relief from suffering and turmoil and cruel bondage. So there's a bunch of days here that we could talk about. So the first day is when the Babylonians end up getting beaten and overtaken by the Persians, and you can read about this in Daniel. This is the switch from Nebuchadnezzar to Darius to Cyrus, and those changes. So I mean, they get that. So there is a little bit of taking up this just regime change wise. With that said, they're still in the day, right? So kind of the Babylonians are gone, but they're still stuck in Babylon. It's Cyrus and Darius who start sending people back. So that's one day, right? There's another day when Jesus is born, Christmas Eve, when the angels in heaven and the people on earth who were supposed to be in the know are supposed to be singing this. That's the day when the reign of the king of Babylon ends. Okay, so not quite all the way, right? And we've got these all the way sorts of things, and when we really want this to be all the way. Luther, in his treatise on the Babylonian captivity of the church, says that the king of Babylon is actually the Pope, and so when the Roman Catholic Church dies, this is what the Lutherans are supposed to sing. Hey! Go Luther. It's still close to Reformation Day. Yay. I'm going to move on past that and focus in on, from Revelation, the king of Babylon, and really is Satan. So this is one of those things with prophecy where it's true multiple times in multiple different ways, and it's typologically true, which means sort of there's a now, it's sort of fulfilled, and then not yet, that we're waiting for the other half. Right? So most prophecy in the Bible is typological, or the best or most useful interpretation for prophecy is a typological interpretation, where we say, how is this fulfilled in the near context to when it was given? How is this fulfilled in Jesus? Right, because of course, Easter Sunday, again, the king of Babylon, Satan, is beaten. Let's see that. How is this beaten back through the Reformation? Although that one I will gloss right on past 99% of the time, right? So leave that. And then how is this beaten in the last day? Or how is this fulfilled in the last day? So, this is the song, how the oppressor has come to an end, how his fury has ended. All right, so we are going to celebrate when we see the Prince of Lies thrown into the pit of hell and the keys thrown away, right? Because he has come to an end and his fury has ended. And that fury is that he's not in charge, right? And all of this fury is, I should be the one who's in charge, but I'm not. right? The Lord has broken the rod of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So this is one reason inside the song to say, yeah, this is probably best sung as a last day song. Bits and pieces of it, sure, but in its entirety, right? When we're free from the bondage of sin and free from Satan's influence, that's the last day. So, and then here's a nice picture of sin. So and what Satan does, who in anger struck down peoples with unceasing blows, and in fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. Right. So, while I will usually punt to a geopolitical view of the world and a secular one at that, that's not to say that Satan's not driving a lot of what happens in politics. I know none of you are shocked to hear that, or international relations, right? And so Satan delights in creating aggression, creating bad relationships. How can you not think Satan was in some way involved in World War II? Just throwing that out there. I'll also say, Satan loves communism, not for the reasons the 60s folks think, just because there's this whole endless war of aggression from the communists toward their neighbors in an attempt to stamp out a free market, and it generates endless war, right? In a way that capitalism doesn't, and I'm going to leave off there, but it's one of the bigger drivers of this. But just listen to the language again: the unceasing blows, and in fury subdued nations with relentless aggression. Right? It just never stops. Right? This just never goes away. So that's a nice way to talk about Satan. All the lands are at rest and at peace, and they break into singing. Right? This again is a last day picture. It's a last day picture of Satan's gone, God's back, and it's time to party. But you can't say that all the nations are at rest and everyone's singing right now, right? Even in the midst of the age of the church and living under the grace of the resurrection, that's not something that's happened. And here, sometimes we want to be poetic, right? Sometimes we want to be non-literal, and there's big chunks of the Bible that are non-literal, meaning, hey, they're poetic, or they're metaphors, or they're parables, or they're similes, right? The kingdom of heaven is like, the heaven is not a mustard seed. It's like a mustard seed, right? This is one of those times, though, when we do want to be literal. Even the pine trees, right? And that kind of the start of the sentence, even the pine trees, they themselves, in an apocalyptic way, right? The trees of the field and the mountains and the streams all burst forth in song because God has come back. And that's not supposed to be non-literal. That's not supposed to be a anthropomorphism, where we take something and give it human characteristics. The idea in the Hebrew text is, no, they're actually going to sing, and it's not the burbling of the creek or the rumbling of the landslide. No, they will sing because the creator of heaven has come. What's that sound like? I don't know, but this is supposed to be taken literally here. Even the pine trees and the cedars of Lebanon exult over you and say, now that you have been laid low, no woodsman comes to cut us down. Right? And so there is a picture of the new creation where there's no reason for industry. We're going to enjoy the world that God created and made for us. It's just going to be awesome. So, what do we do with this devotionally? There's a few things here that are important. On the one hand, we can pray for the last day because this is a beautiful picture of the last day, right? It's Thursday after a contested election, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff waiting, right? I'm so happy about that. Yay! We're still counting swing states and fighting court battles. So, if you're inclined, by all means, pray for the end. Part of this, though, in our own personal devotion, though, is to pray, deliver us from evil, right? That bit here from Isaiah 14, that Satan rages against us in fury with unceasing blows, right? When we pray the Lord's Prayer and we pray, deliver us from evil or deliver us from the evil one, depending on the translation and how you're feeling and what's going on, we are praying against Satan and against those unending blows. And it's important to know that Satan is at continuous war against us because of our baptisms. And he wants nothing else for us other than for us to reject the cross and to walk away from the church. So our first move is for ourselves, and spare us, Lord. Give us a break. We are tired, and it just keeps coming, right? So that's the first move, and it's self-interested, and that's fine, because you do need to pray for relief. I want to push this off then to our neighbor, because I'm pretty sure you know someone for whom we can easily suspect that they are enduring also unceasing blows from the enemy, from Satan. And so we will pray for them as well, that they get relief. Sometimes these unceasing blows are sins that we do, and the natural consequences, it's temptation, and when we are lured away and forced to sin through our own weakness of will. That's as may be, right? That happens. Those are unceasing blows as we commit the sin and we feel the unholiness and we feel the wrongness of that situation. But a lot of the unceasing blows are Satan letting the world catch up to us, right? Snotty people at work or on the playground or in your living station, regular selfishness, either yours or directed at you, and then even sickness and death. Those, I don't want to over spiritualize it, right? We do have a physical explanation for sickness and death, but that is also Satan lining things up, right? And unceasing blows, and it just never stops. So today's devotion is, if you have time, go and read the Small Catechism or the Large Catechism on this petition, the Deliver Us from Evil. And pray through that God would spare us from that, and then pray for your neighbor and pick a neighbor to pray for. So that's all the time we have. We will see you back here next time.